Anaximenes was the third and final philosopher of the Milesian school, beginning with Thales, and tradition holds that he was also the student of Anaximander. Whether this is true or not, each of these thinkers were close contemporaries, and it's certain that their ideas built on top of each other. Or maybe not. When it comes to the pre-Socratic philosophers, Anaximenes is something of a question mark, because he seems to have directly contradicted the insights of Anaximander without explanation. Let's take a step back. Remember that in searching for the arche, or unifying principle of diversity, Thales concluded that everything was made up of water. On the other hand, Anaximander believed that any single material substance could not account for all the contradictory properties in nature, and posited an undefinable substance called the apeiron, or boundless, as the source of all motion, matter, and life. So some find it strange that afterwards, Anaximenes stated that the arche was air. Before judging him though, let's look at what he thought and why he thought it. Like both of his predecessors, Anaximenes believed that land and rock arise from water. But how does this happen exactly? Neither Thales nor Anaximander had an answer for this. But Anaximenes did, and this may well have been his major contribution to the Milesian project. Rarefication and condensation are the processes by which Anaximenes said one substance could change into another. According to Simplicius, air differs in essence in accordance with its rarity or density. When it is thinned, it becomes fire, while when it is condensed, it becomes wind, then cloud. When still more condensed, it becomes water, then earth, then stones. Everything else comes from these. So condensation means that an element gets heavier, slower, and cooler at the same time, whereas rarefication means that an element gets lighter, quicker, and hotter. It seems therefore that Anaximenes had some understanding of the water cycle. After all, the process by which the atmosphere becomes cloud, which in turn becomes water, is, to this day, known as condensation. Because of this, it may have seemed obvious to Anaximenes that Thales had missed a step. Obviously, water cannot be the primary element, since we see that it comes from air. Sounds great, right? Well, there's a big problem here. If you've watched the other videos in this series, you'll see it pretty quickly. After Thales said that the arche was water, his student Anaximander had some good arguments against the whole idea of a material arche, which is why he settled on the undefinable apeiron to describe his worldview. But Anaximenes doesn't seem to care or pay attention to that. He goes straight back to Thales' way of thinking and just looks for a better substance than water. His move seems regressive, like he's missing the whole point. Because of this, many people have thought of Anaximenes as a dumb philosopher, a bad student who just didn't understand what his teacher was talking about. While there may or may not be some truth to that, there is a way to look at Anaximenes as something other than an ignorant knucklehead. Think of it this way. Anaximenes doesn't disagree with Thales on all points. After all, he has the material arche, and in his world picture, water does become earth. At the same time, he doesn't disagree with Anaximander on everything either. Just like Anaximander wanted an arche that was infinite, or boundless, Anaximenes believed that air, unlike water, was infinite too. He even thought that the earth was supported on a pillar of air, which lines up perfectly with Anaximander's cosmology. But most importantly, Anaximenes wasn't talking about air like we mean it today at all. According to the ancient writer Aetius, Anaximenes drew inspiration from the ancient concept of air as soul, or the breath of life. He says, just as our soul, which is air, holds us together, so breath and air surround the whole cosmos. Now, it's pretty clear that Anaximenes is talking about air, as in the air we breathe, but he's also talking about much more than that. According to Cicero, Anaximenes said that air is God, and that it is boundless and infinite and always in motion. Now remember that Anaximander, in looking for something outside the physical universe for an explanation of its existence, arguably invented metaphysics by seeking something outside of physical reality to explain the world. In invoking the divine, Anaximenes does the same thing. While his concept can seem like a regression to Thales, it can also seem like a continuation of Anaximander's ideas, depending on how you look at it. I think the best way to see Anaximenes is as the third step in a dialectic triad. In a dialectic triad, two positions contradict each other, the thesis and the antithesis. A third position, the synthesis, takes good elements from both and turns them into a brand new position, which resolves them into one. In this case, Thales is the thesis. He says everything is made of the definable substance, water. Anaximander is the antithesis. He says everything is made of something immaterial, boundless, and undefinable. Anaximenes is the synthesis. According to him, everything is made of something definable but boundless, material but divine. To hear about the rest of the Pre-Socratics, and for more videos on famous philosophers, like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.